Hi there, Suzanne Mathis McQueen here with Dr. Kayla Luhrs, and we are, doing
This very funny thing when women refer to their cycle as only the time that they're bleeding. And it's sort of funny because the thing about a cycle is that you're always on it. you know?
exactly.
Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne, please.
Well, right, you were doing it. So that is the thing, is that we're cycling all the time. I mean, you just really have to think again, relate yourself to the moon, if nothing else. And that's the one that we mimic the most anyway, the pattern that we mimic. So the moon, in the new moon phase, new moon up, for the first quarter, that's not the whole moon cycle. It keeps going around, and because this is a reproductive cycle, because there is a method to what appears to be the madness. It is a fully functioning machine, and I say that with all the love that I have for it. I am so impressed with this. I am going to call it machinery because it is so precise and amazing. But the bleeding part is just one part of it. The whole thing is your cycle. A cycle. So when I talk about a cycling woman, I mean one that does bleed in that cycle. And when I talk about non-cyclers, usually I'll say no more cycling. What I mean is you still have a rhythm, you still have a cycle, but you're no longer bleeding. So I mean, terms can get interchanged, but you are not only cycling during your moon time, during your blood time.
And I would jump in to say medically, Suzanne, that's exactly right. Like during that whole cycle, your hormones are changing day by day with increasing levels of estrogen and, FSH, all these different things, which we will be talking about in more depth in our workshop. But what this results in is that women, when we think of the word stable, a lot of people think of something that's flatline, and it's just not true because we change. We have more of like a 28-day cycle. But when we become familiar with that, like what's normal for us at each part of this cycle, we can recognize a new base for ourselves. We can figure out what's normal for us. And that's what I love about your book so much, is that you've totally done this. Like it's obvious you've looked at your own cycle enough to unlock your own keys. And that's what I really feel about your book, is not every woman, they're not all going to jump on and be the same as Suzanne's cycle, but what you do is you show women how to chart and how to track so that we can learn ourselves. And I would go so far to say this is life-saving, because where this shows up in Western medicine is actually in the mental health population, I think, because women, I think the term, like historically people would use the term hysteria, which has the same Latin root as hysterectomy, right? Like coming from the uterus, to mean something sort of crazy. And I think women, when they don't feel the same, because they're sort of taught that you will feel the same, it can be very unnerving. And this, I think, leads to a lot of psychological illness, which we this is a time of mental illness is prevalent in our society, and I think this is one thing, not having this knowledge that, in my opinion, is contributing.
That's excellent. Well, one of the things I love the idea of just being stable, because to me, like what you're pointing out, is that when you understand what your rhythm looks like, that is stability. I mean, if you were riding a bike and you're going up and down these hills, or let's say you're on a mountain bike and you're out in the mountains and you're going up and down these hills, if you're hanging with it, if you're horseback riding, if you're skiing, just doing the flat road is not, that would get kind of boring actually after a while, but if you stay with it and you're enjoying it and you're in alignment with it, if you're not getting ahead of yourself, or if you're not falling backwards or not falling off, but if you're staying with it, then that's stability. That is stability. And it doesn't matter, the fact that you've got some hills and dips in there, is not what the stability is. The stability is that you're staying with it. You're in alignment with it. Yeah. And this is a good
state of flow. I think mountain bikers will recognize exactly what you're talking about. The state of flow,
The state of flow. Yeah. Well, They probably stole that from women ultimately, don't you think?
Those mountain bikers.
Those mountain bikers. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's really good. One of the things that I'd like to point out that I have found with this work, and I feel pretty strongly about it, because here's what can get tricky about the charting or the tracking of your cycle. Now, keep in mind that if you know 4 seasons in 4 weeks at all, then you have to remember that it is really, we are charting our experience as women. This isn't charting for fertility and contraception use per se. You're getting an idea. You're getting an idea of those ranges. And when you really want to pin down ovulation and fertility, then you need to move to more precise or very precise fertility awareness method. What we're doing here is we are helping you to just to love your cycle, to recognize that, wow, this is real, because you can start relating the things that you felt were just kind of quirky or that you were feeling confused about. All of a sudden you realize that, no, this makes total sense. Now you're starting to be in the, what'd you say? The flow. What'd you say?
The flow state. Yeah.
The flow state. You know, when you get that, all of a sudden you realize you're not crazy. You realize you're rhythmic, and then you can start going with that flow state rather than getting knocked off your bike or, you know, expecting it to be flat and that kind of thing. So that's the one thing, is that you're really charting your physical energy, your mental viewpoint, your communication cycle. I love that part of it. I mean, I love all of it. Your sex cycle, your sexuality, and your beauty cycle. You will find that all of those change throughout this entire cycle. I use 4 phases to just make it easy. I mean, you can really break it down much more accurately than that even. But these are the things that we're looking at, because all of a sudden when you notice your patterns and you notice that, wow, this really connects up, and that it's predictable, and that the same thing happens over and over, and you can start preparing for that. You start feeling so empowered, because now you are in that flow state rather than just not knowing what's, you know how, I mean, have you ever been on a horse? I mean, Kayla, have you ever been on a horse where, you know,
I grew up in Alaska, Suzanne, no, maybe twice. I grew up in Alaska, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so have you ridden a bear? You know, anyway, you know, so are you saying that you've ridden a lot of horses, or you haven't ridden a lot of horses? No. So like a horse, if you don't know what you're doing, it will take off with you, you know, and you are not in flow state with that. You are freaked out, and you just like hang on for your life, because you know that you're going to go flying off of that thing if you don't. But it's not fun. It's scary. It's terrifying. But you know, the same thing can happen with our monthly rhythm. We don't even think of it as a monthly rhythm. The only thing we notice is the blood part, and then you know, worrying about pregnancy if you're a straight woman, or you know, PMS, and that's all you know about it, and it just feels frantic and confusing and awful. But when you start understanding that there's a rhyme and a reason, and it all makes sense, you can get into that flow state, and all of a sudden it is so empowering. But so I wanted to point out. Go ahead.
Oh yes, there's so many points that I could make through there, but going with that mental health piece that you said, again, like we both kind of circled back to this. That's when I first actually saw charting. I'm going to share a little personal story here. Was that it's been known for a long time to be a helpful tool in the mental health community for using people, especially with bipolar, borderline personality disorder, any kind of mood thing. And until I have to be honest, being a physician myself, I tried to do this charting for years without success until I read your book. And when I read your book and started charting, I was actually what we would say not cycling, because I didn't have a period due to, you know, there's many reasons that people don't have periods in this right now. I'll just list a few of them. One, pregnancy. When you're pregnant, you are certainly still cycling, but not having that bleeding. A lot of women on birth control, a lot of trans women, you know, people who feel women but don't have that blood to clue them in on their cycle, postmenopausal women. And I would just say, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting where I was going with this. Exactly. This is such a rich conversation. Do you want to jump back in, Suzanne?
Sure, I'll jump back in. And, I think what you were going with was that how the, really once you start understanding this stuff, how it helps the mental state, because all of a sudden, again, you're not feeling crazy. You can understand these patterns and you can see this. I mean, I'm not sure if this is where you were going with it, but this is where I see it. I see that women can easily, or, female identified, whichever way you want to go. I'm just going to say female, I have found there are very specific times when if you chart that you're feeling depressed a particular day, and then the next month you're charting that you feel depressed, I'm telling you that so much of the time it's going to be on the same day or right around the same area of a particular phase.
Yes, thank you. And I know. Thank you for reminding me of this. And so what I love about your book is that you offer examples of things to do. So when you're feeling, you give a reason of why around the full moon, if we haven't prepared ourselves properly, you could feel, like not rested, crazy, crawling out of your skin, anxious, things like this. And you kind of normalize it for people, because I think one of the things about being in this journey without hearing this work is that you feel very alone when you have those feelings. But if you're expecting it, the next thing you can do is you offer suggestions of activities to do to kind of help with those feelings. Because I know sometimes when I'm like wound up in like a frantic state, it's hard for me to come up with activities that are going to make me feel better. And by using those strategies in your book, I know that has been a huge tool for me. That's what I wanted to say there. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for helping me.
Well, the thing about it is that I think it became a big survival tool for me, because I can fall into depression kind of easily. I mean, I'm not critical. I in no way reach that point of having a severe problem with it, but I can go there very easily. And I think all of us can experience that at times, but some people more than others. But I'll tell you, if you fall into it on a fairly regular basis, or if you go there for a certain amount of time, it's terrifying, because you just don't think you're going to come out of it. You think that this is it from now on. You think all kinds of thoughts of just. I can't make it, and some people will go to the place of suicide, but I mean, if it's not that severe, it's still terrifying. It's still that place of feeling like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to support myself? Or am I going to be able to take care of myself? Am I going to be able to get out of this feeling? I used to feel so good, or, there's all kinds of places you can go with that. The beautiful thing about recognizing the pattern of it is that, first of all, you start recognizing that this is just a phase, and so the first place where you can go in your mind, even if you can't pull yourself out, is that this shall pass. This is only for a day, or this is only for a half a day, or this is for 3 days, or, whatever it is.
And isn't it so amazing to be able to predict which days those will be? That's also been so helpful to know in advance, versus it feeling like it's sneaking up on me and suddenly I can't handle my emotions.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that the other thing too, the biggest thing, like you said, are the tools. So once you know that you actually can go into this in a sort of rhythmic way with a pattern, then the first most important thing to do is have tools available. And what I mean by tools are go-to things such as music. I mean, music is my very first go-to for me, because I have certain songs on YouTube that I'll just go to. I have certain songs on my iPod. I have certain songs that I go to that I know that if I just can get myself to hit play, it will lift me. For me, it might be some funk Motown thing, because it's just uplifting for me,
And we know this stuff works. We have music therapists now. We have a lot of data for even this. Essential oils are another one that are very subtle, uplifting.
Oh, that's perfect. I mean, I have like a tangerine and a lemon right at my desk to just, not only do I have it there because it's kind, it wakes me up some and, that kind of thing, but that one will change for me. Everybody's got their different aromas that might work, but we also know that there are some that are really uplifting, or some that can take us in a little bit deeper if we're feeling a little too hyper, any of that kind of thing.
And that's the thing. So another thing I love about charting is that I can just make a note of like what the particular outcome was when I tried a certain thing, you know, and it just gives me such, I have patients do this all the time. You know, any patients of mine who are watching this know about self-charting, but it's so incredibly helpful to dig down and get healthy on a whole new level. It's amazing. I can't really even emphasize how good it feels.
I love that term, just self-charting. That's so simple. I've never actually used that term. That's really, really good. I'm going to steal that from you. I think I'm going to borrow that. That's a good one. I mean, because that's really what we're doing. We're self-charting. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really good way to look at it. And when we are self-charting along with our cycle, knowing how the cycle fits into that, that's a lot of great information. So if you have some tools automatically available, it might even be a favorite outfit that you just like, again, you force yourself to put it on. You get out of your sweatpants or something and you throw on your favorite jeans. You know, you don't have to get too jazzy about it.
Yeah. And this is kind of a spoiler alert, but Suzanne does go in her book, which week a new outfit is most likely to make you feel better. And it's so true.
Well, you know what? I've had feedback from 2 women on this, and 2 may not sound like enough, but this was significant. I've got one friend, Laura, who has totally gotten into what kind of clothes she's wearing per phase, and it totally helps her. Another woman wrote, and I think her testimonial is on Amazon maybe, and she talked about how one of the best things about this book was that she started dressing differently because it actually helped everything because our hormones are fueling us. They are supporting us to either take action or go in deeply, or really be expressing ourselves, or really get focused. I mean, they are simply supporting us to do this. They are fuel for us. They're fuel for our wisdom. So when we put on something that aligns with that, I mean, you know, I wondered all these years why I loved some outfit at the store and I bought it, and then I go to put it on one day and it's like, this doesn't look good. You know, and luckily I don't get rid of it because I go to put it on another time and it's like, oh yeah, okay, well that's pretty cute. You know, it's just kind of a crazy thing, or even just the weight gain thing. You know, just a little bit of bloating makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I've gained all this weight or something, and then all of a sudden everything's okay. And it can be maddening when it doesn't need to be. When you really are in that flow state, you know, I mean, everything is perfectly stable is what it is. And so, but I love the tools. I think tools are enormously important. I think it's important to have them wherever you are. And again, the main tool is just knowing that, that this will pass, and there's a couple things that you can do. The other tool would be going into it, going ahead and investigating. I just use depression as an example because it's kind of an easy one to use in this example. I mean, maybe you just do flat out need to go deep into it and cry like crazy. Maybe you need to just sob. And I don't mean go into it so deeply that you can't come out, or that, you know, you're going to have bad results. I mean, maybe it's time to go in and really see if you can get some insights from it. Go ahead and allow yourself to be sad. Well, again, put in a sad movie. Have some sad movie on your shelf that you can pop in or go to, you know, on Netflix or whatever, and that you can watch that will have you crying, so that you can start releasing some of this stuff. These are tools. So, you know, anyway.
Working with a therapist as you do this work is a great way, especially somebody who's familiar with 4 seasons and 4 weeks. And which brings me to our next point, in that our workshop that we are putting on in 6 days specifically has that focus. Yeah, and we have a bunch of healers on the roster so far, therapists, doctors flying in from around the country. Yes,
so wait a minute. You mean the Sunday one, though, right? When you say
workshop, yes.
Okay. Because we have a couples one on Friday night. So that's coming up, and that's a 2-hour one. But we've got the women's workshop on Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah. And during that workshop, we really dive into this stuff, talk about it deeper, and we just have a really wonderful day planned for that. So we hope you can join us.
Yeah. So maybe that's just it for today. We've got more tips tomorrow, and we will be on live at 5. Are we doing 5 or 5:15 tomorrow?
Let's do 5.
Let's do 5. So live at 5. Dr. Kayla and Suzanne live at 5 tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and we will also do Wednesday. And then that's it before the workshops, because on Thursday I'm driving to Portland up from Southern Oregon. So Friday night we will have the couples workshop, and then on Sunday we will have the women's longer day, longer workshop and that kind of thing. Yeah. Anything else, Dr. Kayla?
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thanks for watching.
Oh, we didn't say that. Happy New Year. Yeah, very good. All right. Anything else? Any final words, Dr. Kayla?
Any questions? Suzanne and I just this is just a discussion that we have. We're kind of talking off the cuff here. If you have any questions, any specific questions, please feel free to private message me, send me a message on my website about the topics that we discussed today. Again, none of this is meant to be specific medical advice, but just Suzanne and I talking from our collective experience here on what's worked for us.
And hang on, I want to show one comment that we've got from Christine, and Christine's up in Canada, and she says, love your book. Thank you for your wisdom. Oh, Christine, thank you so much. That is greatly appreciated. Very much. Thank you. Thank you. And love our Canadians, that's for sure. And I haven't been up to your neck of the woods yet. BC has kind of been my stomping grounds, but and you're in Saskatchewan. Yeah. So anyway, hope to make it there at some point. All right. Well, if that's it for now, then let's just say bye for now. And again, Happy New Year. We'll see you tomorrow evening at 5. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.